Marshawn Lynch is one of the toughest players to ever step on a football field. He was unstoppable. Whether it was dodging guys with his speed or physically abusing everyone, he literally would not be tackled.
Don't you guys know you can't tackle beast mode like that?
The way he runs is like he's fighting.
His nickname's Beast Mode.
He's one of the most feared running backs of all time, but off the field, he was always causing controversy. He's swung at the media, he's broke a fan's phone, and so much more.
I'm going to defend Marshawn Lynch.
First of all, Max, you're absolutely wrong, and Marshawn Lynch was wrong, period.
His mindset not only led to one of the most feared players ever, but also a player who was deemed by his own coaches as uncoachable. It all stems from where he grew up in Oakland, California. With no father in the house, he was raised by a single parent working multiple jobs. His mom had been a track star at her former high school, and it was obvious from an early age that he picked up her athletic ability. Oakland Tech, where he played sports, produced multiple professional athletes in the past, but by far his best role was running back, rushing for over 1,700 yards and 23 touchdowns in just 8 games. Standing at 5'11", 220 pounds, he was a standout athlete. It was this play specifically in the championship that earned him the nickname Beast Mode.
Our lineman, oh my God, if my lineman wasn't so good, oh my God, I don't know what to do.
His team won 55-47, making it their first title since 1951. After his legendary season, he was deemed the second best running back in the nation. In 2004, he took his talents to the California Golden Bears on a scholarship as a 4-star recruit. When he got there, he was in a situation where the team already had their starting running back, J.J. Arrington, who had rushed for 2,000 yards in Lynch's freshman year. And when he finally did get his opportunity, he ran the wrong way. But he made up for it by rumbling through defenders and scoring the touchdown anyway. After the game, the head coach went over to yell at him, but his young star quarterback Aaron Rodgers came to the rescue.
The head coach coming over there. Before he could even get over there to open his mouth, I just hear A-Rod telling him like, no, that was me. I'm like, what the fuck?
Rodgers went on to get drafted into the NFL after that season, but without him, Lynch would have never gotten his chance. In 2005, he more than doubled his freshman rushing yards with 1,210 touchdowns. In their final game of the year, a bowl game, Marshawn was named the MVP and his team came up victorious. He had become unstoppable. A year later, he had yet another great season with similar numbers and was having a blast on the field, earning him Pac-10 Player of the Year and his first All-American. So directly after the year ended, he declared for the NFL draft and was set to become a 21-year-old rookie with the intent of just being beast mode. But he began to see a problem throughout the draft process due to the location he grew up in.
Oh, this guy's a fucking thug. He's a gang member and, you know what I mean, all this shit and oh, he's stupid and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, what the fuck?
Despite these allegations, he was drafted early on day 1 at pick 12 to the Buffalo Bills. According to his head coach, they drafted him because he's one of those guys that just keeps moving forward. He runs with an attitude, he fights for every yard, and that's the kind of back we want leading our offense. In Marshawn's first career game, he was facing the Denver Broncos, who had one of the worst run defenses in all of football. In the third quarter is where we saw the birth of NFL Beast Mode.
Marshawn Lynch breaking it. Look at Lynch go. Pops it outside. Stiff arm. Cuts it back. Pile drive. Touchdown Buffalo. Holy mackerel. This kid can play.
As the season went along, he continued scoring touchdowns in almost every game. On November 4th against the Cincinnati Bengals, he truly showed how strong he was. In 29 carries, he rushed for 153 yards, broke multiple tackles, and ran free for a touchdown. But that wasn't even the craziest play that game.
Toss sweep, Marshawn's gonna throw, looking to the end zone, looking for Royal, touchdown!
In Week 17 against the Philadelphia Eagles, Buffalo's offense completely stalled, failing to score points all game. Yet, Marshawn still managed to pick up a heavy workload in the backfield, rushing for over 100 yards to end his season. And it was evident to everyone that he was by far the Bills' MVP offensively. They had hoped that he would evolve into one of the top players in football. The 2008 season brought dominance early on. Not only did he score 4 touchdowns, but he also led his team to a 3-0 record. But after that amazing start, he went on a run over his next 8 games where he scored only 2 touchdowns. In week 11, he was able to rebound well, dodging guys and bulldozing his way into the end zone. However, in week 14, he posted his worst week yet, with just 2.4 yards per carry and 13 rushes. So, Marshawn told the media exactly what was going on and who to blame, saying this: "I know you've all been looking and wondering what's up with the run game, and I'm here to tell you, I'm going to put it on me. There have been some key things that I've seen on film where I feel I could have made a better play, or I could have had a little more patience and it would have been a better run." He used his own advice to his own advantage, producing well and bringing his team the highest amount of rushing yards they had seen yet with 187, solidifying him as a 1,000-yard runner for the second straight time. Once again, Marshawn was named the MVP of the Bills' offense. But little did he know, his Buffalo career was about to change forever. On February 11th of 2009, Lynch was found with an automatic handgun illegally sitting in his trunk. He was suspended for the first 3 games because of it. Filling in for his role was Fred Jackson, who had been the backup running back his entire tenure. In week 2, Fred rushed 28 times for 163 yards, leading his team to a win. By the time his suspension ended, Fred had already taken the starting role, and the team wasn't going to change that. When he heard the news, he said, "It's about the team, man. Fred's been doing his thing, and I respect that." So moving forward, Lynch didn't play that often, and when he did, he usually struggled. He finished his 2009 statistics with a career-low 450 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns, whereas Fred Jackson established himself as a 1,000-yard runner. Now, some believed that Lynch wanted to be traded and that it would be best for the Bills, but he truly didn't want to be there. He suffered an ankle injury in the preseason, barely played in the first 4 games, and they lost every one of them. His value was now completely diminished. He was traded to the Seattle Seahawks. Head coach Pete Carroll had been fighting to land him since before training camp and had finally done it. However, this trade did not come without criticism. Some questioned his character, but when Marshawn got that opportunity to play in his first playoff game ever, he shut up everyone.
Turn and hand to Lynch, left side. Finds a little bit of a hole, keeps his legs moving. He's across the 40, midfield. 45, he's on the run, Lynch. 40, pushes him at 35, look at him go. He's down to 20, 15, he's gonna go. He is gonna go. Touchdown, Seahawks.
That run went down in the history books, known as the Beastquake. The Seahawks were now going to the divisional round against Chicago, who had the second best run defense in all of football. Seattle lost the game 35-24, ending their season. In 2011, Marshawn was in the last year of his contract and was begging to be paid. He became a touchdown machine, scoring 11 touchdowns in 11 consecutive games, which is a franchise record. Not only that, but after rushing for 263 yards in his first 6 games, he rushed for 941 yards in his final 10. But his team ranked 3rd place in the division, missing out on the playoffs. They had to make major decisions going into 2012. The biggest thing was extending Marshawn Lynch to a 4-year, $31 million deal. And aside from that, their other franchise-altering move was draftee quarterback Russell Wilson. With a rookie QB under center, the run game under Marshawn was essential to their success. And then, he was arrested under a DUI charge. Marshawn had made a major mistake. He was supposed to be down at his annual football camp to coach kids. He eventually got out, and not long after, began his NFL year. They started out the season 2-1 with both Russ and Marshawn dominating. But occasionally, like week 4, they couldn't put it all together. As the season moved along, they were able to find their footing. By week 13, Seattle was 7-5, and Marshawn was about to put up his best performance to date. Players couldn't tackle him. He hurdled over them, evaded them, and ran all the way for a touchdown. That wasn't his only one. He had a second, but then, guess what? He scored a third. Thanks to Marshawn, they won the game 58-0 in a complete blowout. Over his next 3 games, he had 100 yards in every one of them with 2 total touchdowns. Their offense averaged 42.5 points between the Cardinals game and the final game of the year. The Seahawks finished 11-5, second place in their division with the playoff spot secured. And Lynch had his best season of his career with the 3rd most rushing yards and 5th most touchdowns in the NFL. In round 1, they were facing a Redskins team that was led by RG3 at quarterback. In the second quarter, they were losing 14-3, and Marshawn saved the day. Russ fumbled the football, but Lynch recovered, running for a first down and way more. In the third quarter, he took off on a monster run for 26 yards. He drove them down the field the entire drive just to fumble it by the end zone. But with 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter, Lynch went down the field, scored to give his team a lead. They won the game 24-14 and were officially moving on in the playoffs. Next was Atlanta, a tough atmosphere that they just were not able to overcome. His fumble in the first quarter set the tone of the game. Yet again, they had lost, and they were tired of it. They wanted to win. So going into the offseason, they put full focus on revamping their team, signing 2 key players defensively. Offensively, they traded for wide receiver Percy Harvin to lead their unit. By the time the 2013 season began, Bleacher Report predicted that they'd go 12-4 and make the playoffs. In the first game, Marshawn had a lack of production, but they still came away with the victory. His first big game was coming in week 2 against San Francisco.
I think we can take this to the Super Bowl. I got a mic, I know that. Oh, you got a mic? I don't give a He's still going to the Super Bowl.
He got into the end zone twice and ran for 98 yards against the same team that they faced in the playoffs, but we'll get into that later. Seattle was undefeated at 4-0 to start their season, foreshadowing the future dominance that was about to happen. Offensively, he was tied for the most rushing touchdowns in football while also being top 5 in yards. He was voted into the Pro Bowl and ranked as the 24th best player. Beast Mode had 3 games with over 100 yards rushing. In the divisional round of the playoffs, Seattle played Drew Brees and the Saints, a team that had plenty of playoff experience but had lost to them earlier that same year. Marshawn gave his team a 6-0 lead, and all game long, he put on a clinic against their defense, winning with a final score of 25-15 in the NFC Championship game in sight. Seattle's CenturyLink Field was loud and anticipating a win, but they quickly lost control and were down 10-0, though their kicker was able to cut the game down to just a touchdown. And as soon as that kick was made, Beast Mode took over.
He's on the move, Beast Mode. 10, 5. He is in. What a run by Marshawn Lynch.
With 40 seconds left in the game, 49ers ball, Seattle leading by 3, it would all come down to one last play between the best cornerback in the NFL and a sorry receiver like Crabtree.
Looks, fires near side, going for the end zone. Ball is picked up and after it. And the man who is the NFL's best corner is going to send Seattle to the Super Bowl.
Emotions were running rampant.
Well, I'm the best corner in the game. When you try me with a sorry receiver like Crabtree, that's the result you're going to get.
So, Marshawn was headed to his first ever Super Bowl down at MetLife Stadium, New Jersey, facing off against the Denver Broncos, who had one of the best offenses in NFL history, led by the Sheriff, Peyton Manning, who had just broken the NFL touchdown record that same season.
Tonight, the whole world comes to watch in Seattle.
Finally, it was game day, and it started out how no one thought it would.
And snapped over the head of Peyton Manning. A flag is down, and the ball's out of the back of the end zone.
Seattle dominated.
Lynch looks for running room, puts his head down, he keeps running, it's there! Touchdown! Seahawks!
No Super Bowl had ever been so one-sided. Their defense held Denver to just 8 points. Offensively, they went off and scored 43.
Is it all right if we score more points?
Oh yeah, we can score some more.
Marshawn and the Seahawks were officially Super Bowl champions, and Beast Mode wanted to win more.
Super Bowl 48 champions!
It was time to defend their title. Playing at home against Aaron Rodgers for their first game, Marshawn was all business, rushing for 110 yards, 2 touchdowns. In Week 10, they faced one of the worst defenses in the NFL, the Giants. He didn't just have one good play, he had the best game of his entire career, scoring 4 touchdowns, also tying his career high. Later in Week 16, he had the Beastquake 2.0.
Shifty maneuvering, and Peterson tries to strip and stay in bounds, because if he stayed in bounds, he's going to go all the way.
After that notorious performance, he had one of the most iconic press conferences of all time as a man of one word.
Yeah.
They finished with a 12-4 record, winning the NFC East. A deep playoff run seemed likely. In the divisional round, they were facing Cam Newton's Panthers. The game wasn't close either, with Seattle winning by 2 touchdowns. Now, one win away from being in a consecutive Super Bowl, they had to beat Aaron Rodgers' Packers, an NFC North division winner that had the same record as Seattle. But when they started playing, it became apparent the Packers were not about to lose. The Seahawks were down 16-0 by the third quarter, so they had a lot of work to do, and they had to be up for the challenge. Their attempted comeback started with an insane fake field goal for a touchdown, making the score 7-16. A few drives later, Marshawn made a great catch to bring them just a few yards away from scoring. Russ capitalized in the end zone, making it a 5-point game. And then, a few drives later,
24-yard touchdown run.
They now had a 3-point lead, a lead that was quickly tarnished with no time left in regulation. With the score tied, it was headed into overtime. It started as Seattle football, and they were driving down the field.
Drops back. He's going to throw down the middle. He's got a man. The ball's caught.
Game over, baby.
Touchdown. The game is over. The Seahawks are going back to the Super Bowl.
This time, facing the genius Bill Belichick and Tom Brady's led New England Patriots. Leading up to the Super Bowl, reports were coming out by Packers players about how impossible it was to tackle him. Sam Shields of the Packers said, "I've never been hit by a train, of course, but that's what it seems like, a big train coming right at you. It's hard to stop when it gets going." Finally, on February 2nd, 2014, it was time for Super Bowl 49. Russ and Lynch were ready, but Brady's Patriots were prepared to stop them.
Fellas, I love y'all. This has been a grind, fellas.
In the second quarter, Brady tossed a touchdown, giving them a lead, though it didn't take long for Lynch to wake up, as on their very next possession, he worked his way into the end zone, tying the game. With less than a minute left in the second quarter, both teams fired back at each other to make it a 14-14 game. Coming out of the half, they had one plan: run the football.
Russell turns, hands to Lynch, left side, makes a man miss, stutter step, he's inside the 10, he's down inside the 5-yard line. Marshawn Lynch is pounding the Patriots.
You want to send the message too far? Great right there.
Thanks to him, they scored a field goal and a touchdown to give them a 10-point margin, but the Patriots were not going to go down without a fight.
Shuffles left, fires back to the end zone. Touchdown, New England!
New England had a lead over the Seahawks 28-24. Their season would come down to one drive starting at the 20-yard line, and it opened with a 31-yard bang from Marshawn. Many plays later, Seattle did the impossible.
Russell for Curse, and that's broken up again. And did he wind up with a football?
That catch was just a few yards away from the end zone, and it was time to feed beast mode and win the Super Bowl.
Russell under center, he hands to Lynch, he goes left, he pounds it down the line.
New England knew they had to play their cards right or they'd lose their third Super Bowl appearance in a row.
Just play goal line.
One player entering the game changed things for Lynch and the Seahawks forever.
3, Malcolm, go!
They're going goal line. They're going goal line.
The Super Bowl champion, Beast Mode, was about to get his opportunity to win the game at the goal line. At least that's what everyone thought.
Russell looks, throws inside, oh my God, it's picked off at the goal line! Oh no!
If I lose the Super Bowl because Marshawn Lynch can't get it in from the 1-yard line, so be it.
Marshawn couldn't believe it.
I take my helmet off and I go right to Pete Carroll's face, and I'm talking about I hit his ass with the biggest.
You laughed in his face?
A month after the Super Bowl, he said this: "To be honest with you, I would be lying if I didn't tell you that I was expecting the ball. When you look at me and you let me run that ball in, I am the face of the nation. You know, MVP of the Super Bowl."
What happened? Did they not want you to get that MVP?
Man, I have no idea.
In 2015, he was rated as the 9th best player in football. Still, he wasn't himself and battled injuries all year long. He had a career low in rushing yards, yards per attempt, and even touchdowns. The 29-year-old had announced on Twitter that he was hanging up his cleats and retiring. So all of 2016, he didn't play. But when 2017 came around, he had a sudden change of mind.
Marshawn Lynch has indeed found a new home. Lynch all smiles at the Raiders facility today, where he officially came out of retirement.
He showed flashes of his former self with 7 touchdowns and nearly 900 yards. His explosiveness at the older age of 31 was still showing. Many were excited when he made the decision to come back in 2018, but it ended tragically with a season-ending injury by October. This led everyone to believe that his legendary career was coming to an end. But then, he shocked everyone coming back to Seattle for their final regular season game and playoff run, but they lost in the divisional round. But there is still one more major question. Was he good enough to get into the Hall of Fame? He broke 107 more tackles in the 2010s than any other running back. His beast mode persona was iconic, with a reputation of being impossible to tackle, and it led to 2 Super Bowls. Be on the lookout for my next video, talking about Julian Edelman's unexpected rise to the NFL.